Silence, a word so small, yet a power so vast that it can change the entire direction of a life. Most people fear silence. They think silence means weakness, silence means surrender, silence means that you have nothing left to say. But this woman, she understood something the world had not learned yet. She discovered that silence is not the absence of power, silence is the birthplace of power. She had spent years fighting battles that weren't hers, explaining herself to people who didn't deserve an explanation, trying to prove her worth to those who couldn't see it, answering accusations that came from insecurities, not facts. Her voice had become tired, her heart had become heavy, and her spirit had become drained. One day she realized something. Not every war deserves a warrior, not every argument deserves a response, and not every noise deserves attention. So she chose silence. But not the silence of fear, the silence of focus. Not the silence of defeat, the silence of discipline. Not the silence of giving up, the silence of rising up. At first people laughed. They thought she had stepped back because she had lost. They thought her silence was weakness. They thought they had finally won. But what they didn't know was that her silence was the beginning of a transformation that would shock every single person who had ever underestimated her. Silence gave her space. Space to breathe. Space to think. Space to reconnect with who she really was before the world told her who she should be. Silence became her sanctuary, a place where she wasn't judged, wasn't interrupted, wasn't compared, wasn't questioned. In that quiet space, she found her true voice, a voice so strong, it didn't need to speak to be heard. While the world made noise, she made progress. While others wasted energy in arguments, she invested energy in growth. While they shouted to prove their point, she worked to improve her life. Silence allowed her to listen, not to people, but to life. She listened to her intuition, the whisper inside her that had been drowned for years. She listened to her heart, which had been bruised but not broken. She listened to her soul, which had been waiting patiently for the chance to rise again. And slowly, something magical began to happen. Everything that was never meant for her began to fall away. People who drained her disappeared. Situations that hurt her collapsed. Doors that kept her trapped finally closed. And new doors, doors she never imagined, started opening as if the universe had been waiting for her to become silent so it could finally speak. Silence taught her patience, and patience built her strength. Silence taught her observation, and observation revealed truth. Silence taught her discipline, and discipline created transformation. People began to notice. The same people who once misunderstood her now wondered how she became so calm, so focused, so unshakable. They looked at her life and saw success where there used to be struggle. They saw confidence where there used to be confusion. They saw peace where there used to be pain. She didn't shout to announce her growth. She didn't argue to prove her worth. She didn't confront those who hurt her. She simply became better, and let that be her response. Her silence became her crown. The world could no longer ignore her because her results were louder than any words she could have spoken. She achieved what people told her she couldn't. She walked away from what people expected her to tolerate. She healed from wounds others thought would break her forever. All because she mastered a power very few people understand, the power to stay silent and let life speak for you. Silence didn't make her invisible, silence made her unstoppable. Because silence isn't empty, silence is full of answers. Silence isn't weakness, silence is strategy. Silence isn't losing, silence is choosing. Choosing peace over pressure, growth over gossip, focus over fear, purpose over people's opinions. She remained silent, and the world finally heard her. Her silence showed that she no longer needed validation, approval, applause, or attention. She had stepped into a level of inner strength where the only thing that mattered was the voice within her. A voice that told her she was capable. She was worthy. She was destined for more. And for the first time in her life, she believed it. And that belief changed everything. She shocked everyone, not with words, but with who she became. Not with arguments, but with achievement. Not with noise, but with transformation. This is the secret power that changed her life. She learned that when you stop explaining, you start evolving. When you stop reacting, you start rising. When you stop fighting for people's approval, you start building your own destiny. Her silence wasn't a pause, it was a beginning. A beginning of a new strength, a new clarity, a new identity. And from that silence, she created a life that made the noise irrelevant. She stayed silent, and in that silence, she found the power that changed everything.